Hello, romance readers. Welcome to Illicit Liaisons with Tender and Tempting Tales, where each week we talk about the good, the bad, and the naughty of romance fiction.
Hi, I'm Tara Liederman, social media manager here at Tender and Tempting Tales, as well as a science fiction romance author. And in this very special Fireworks and Flirtation episode of Illicit Liaisons, our focus is on two of the collection's authors, Aline Francoure and Jenna Harte. Jenna here is the founder and managing editor at our little press, helping us usher steamy romance anthologies and spicy zines to all of you. She's also, of course, a romance author, having written the Southern Heat contemporary romance series and the sexy Valentine Mysteries, which features a married sleuthing couple and murder-solving folks called Tex and Jack, and which I've been enjoying immensely. Under her new pen name, Ava Leclerc, Jenna has been serializing a dark gothic romance Substack, which I've also been enjoying, called Shadow of Betrayal. We'll have Jenna's website where you can find all of her Valentine and Southern Heat mysteries, as well as where you can get a free story from Jenna and her Substack in today's show notes. Welcome to the pod, Jenna.
Yay! I'm so
Yay!
happy to be here. And today we have as a guest host romance author Aline Francoure, who has a story in Tender and Tempting Tales' Moonlight and Margaritas anthology, as well as a new story coming in the new summer anthology, Fireworks and Flirtation. Now, before focusing on romance writing, she wrote and won awards for her fiction and nonfiction through her local chapter of the Virginia Writers Club. She lives in rural Spotsylvania County, Virginia, with her husband and two crazy dogs. And in her spare time, whatever that is, she likes to read, watch any kind of crime TV, and spend time with her grandchildren. Welcome, Aline.
Yay! Hello, hello.
Hello, it's good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, you too. So it is Illicit Liaisons, and it's been quite a week of bookish drama, especially authors getting into trouble on the internet with the community. First was an author who'd written a plus-size FMC into her romance novel, trying to garner pity on social media by using a sock puppet to bully herself for including a plus-size character. This is not the first time I've seen sock puppets and straw man reviewers used by authors for pity marketing. Heck, this reminds me of like live journal drama back when I was in high school. And I was wondering what the two of you thought about all this.
I just thought this was crazy. This was just crazy. I can't imagine doing this just to garner publicity of any kind. Um, it just seems so weird to me. Um, I don't even know what to say about it. It just seems crazy. It just seems kind of delusional.
Yes, yeah.
Desperate is the word that comes to
Yeah.
my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, it's not the first time we've seen anything like this. And certainly outside of the bookish world, it's happened. But even in the bookish world, and sometimes it's not like this was pretty clever,
Mm.
kind of what they did, because a lot of times what I see in the pity marketing it isn't quite this elaborate. It's just
Yeah.
sort of, oh, woe is me, feel bad for me. I'm about to lose my house type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
There might be some truth to that. Sometimes there's an editor that is always boasting how great they are, and then at the same time seems to always have trouble with their landlord.
Mm. Hmm.
And, so I'm going to give you this great deal, for my services. I've also seen there was a crowdfunding one time. This is the author that, made $1 bajillion for 2 years, didn't deliver anything. And every now and then would come on and be talking about, stuff going on. Oh, woe is me, my business, um, and it taps into people wanting to help other people, and it shows how good people on the internet could be, that they want to, oh, I feel bad for you, because that's what happened in this case, right? When people first
Right.
believed what was going on, people, I'm going to go buy your book. Matter of fact, I think Jasmine Guillory, is that how you pronounce her last name? I think was one of them that went out and bought the book.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. There was a
Uh,
lot of that.
So that's nice, but they're duping people. They're not being honest,
They're
and
lying.
there is a desperation to it. And of course, this author has done some other things that seem sort of underhanded as well. The other thing I thought about it when I first saw it, and before I understood, when I was watching the video and before I understood kind of what was going on, my first thought is how weird somebody would direct message somebody to complain about their plus size character.
Super
because
weird.
we've been seeing plus size characters for a long time.
Yeah.
Like this isn't new. And if you look at the cover and you look at the blur, you knew. So if they had a problem, why did they buy it? So there
Right.
was already something sort of weird about the whole thing. And why would they DM? Because a lot of people who are jerks on the internet, they do it out front, right?
They do it out in the
They
open.
put the comment in the review or
Yeah.
or in a reply on social media. So already there was something sort of odd about it. I don't know. That's my thought.
Yeah, this is not the first time that I have seen what I have to call community posting by authors, which is like usually see actually it's not like I received a DM, although I have seen that. What I see a lot on social media is straw manning of reviews and straw manning of reviewers. So either it's a particular review that they won't send you a link to it or anything, so you can't go and check it. You usually have to do a lot of like investigating to figure out where this is coming from. And unless they're deleting reviews, it's actually hard to do somewhere like Goodreads or Amazon. You usually can't find the review that they're referring to. I've seen folks, straw man reviewers, who have said just awful things about their characters, about disability representation, demanding that they put spice in YA books, right? Like that one particularly makes me giggle, because I really do not feel like folks who like spicy books are going after no spice authors and being like, why isn't this YA book spicier? Teenagers need to be reading porn. Like, and they act like that's something that they get every day. They're getting messages from people, these creepy pervs who are like, you need to put spice in your YA books. And I just don't think that that's happening, and I see their Instagram comments, and it's just universally people who believe them, who support them, who are like, oh my God, I can't believe that. But in a like, I absolutely believe you kind of way. And so they're consolidating their community, not only through a shared sense of we all believe this, but also there's these crazy people over here who believe these crazy things. And we need to ostracize them and talk crap about them and make sure that we're different from them. It's almost like a political divide. I've seen this less so with like disability representation, and more so with like spice versus non-spice. Usually, like a no spice author will be sort of like, oh my God, spicy people are so crazy telling me that I need to put spice in my book, even though like they'll be billing themselves like their brand is all no spices on every single one of their things. Like, honey, I don't think anybody is reading your stories looking for spice. Like everything on your stuff says it's no spice. This is not a thing that is happening. And I've gotten a little salty and like gone through their reviews looking for the thing that they're talking about and can't find it. Now, I would never say their name. I would never call them out, right? Like I would never do that. And like these are people who are perfectly nice in a bunch of other scenarios. It's just like a thing that they do and get away with. I find it very strange. But it does seem to consolidate their Instagram communities around an identity, a community identity of like, this is who we are. This is what we believe. These are the crazy people over here that we are not like, even though they're romance readers and they're probably not that different from folks who like to read spicy romances.
Yeah, that's the same thing too, right? People who like spice, if they see something sweet, they're they might read it and be I've read things that don't have spice in them, but I know
Mhm.
that's not coming,
Yeah,
right?
Right.
that's literally not
So
coming.
I'm not gonna fuss about it because
Mhm.
so the idea that somebody would is odd to me.
Yeah.
Uh,
I knew there are
and sort
people
of
on
a tip
TikTok.
off that maybe something's up, right?
Yeah. I know I've seen people on TikTok who are like, oh, this book is not spicy enough. Like they misunderstood something from the blurb. They didn't see that it was a clean romance. They often blame themselves, like, oh, I didn't read this closely enough, or I didn't realize. But sometimes they're like, well, this said it was like three chili peppers, and I was expecting it a little spicier. And like when it's between two chili pepper ratings, I totally get that they were like, oh, I was hoping it was a little spicier, or maybe it's a little too spicy. But usually they're not like ragging on it. They're not like, I was expecting a clean romance and I got erotica. Like it's not usually what's happening.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, usually the complaint is too much, right?
Yes. Yeah. Usually it's
A
too
It's
little
spicy.
too
over the
much,
top.
too spicy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they were expecting spice, sometimes it's a little bit more than they were bargaining for.
Yeah, no, I mean, I felt that way about Neon Gods, actually. I actually really, I like spicy books, but I did feel like that one was like, it's not that I thought it was too spicy. It was that I thought the spice was distracting from the more romantic-y elements. I prefer things to be a little more fantasy. I want to explore the world a little more, and it felt impatient to me. And it's when I feel like you're impatient to get to the spice that I get a little annoyed with an
Yeah.
author. But I don't blame them for being impatient to get to it. It was a good spice. It's a very good spicy book, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. There's no there. I understand. I mean, we're all authors here. We know how hard it is to market, but it's so easy to get found out. So it's sort of shocking to me when people do these types of things
Yeah.
to to pity market. So
They're
yeah,
desperately looking for a way to go viral, right? I
yeah,
think, it's
yeah.
difficult. And I think that a lot of people will hitch themselves onto something like in our next drama, hitching themselves onto romantasy to get
Yeah.
to go viral. Do you want to introduce that one, Jenna?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that one. And I would say there's a part of me that thinks they stepped in it without realizing it and then
Hmm.
just went off. But that's,
Yeah.
So let's talk about that. We had a nonfiction author, and that's partly why I think it was an accident. Here's a
Mm-mm.
nonfiction author, so not even related, um, who doesn't like romantasy and decided to make a comment about it, but they spelled romantasy not how the rest of us sell it or spell it. I'm trying to figure out
It looks like
Romance.
Stacy to me. Romance Stacy.
Romance Stacy. That makes
Romance
sense.
Stacy.
Yeah, they put an S before the T. And somebody decided to respond to that with, this is how it's spelled. They got called out for spelling romantasy wrong. And off this author went on.
Off
Um,
the rails.
it just
Oh my God.
really, it's one of those things where there's a comment made, and then it just keeps going. It just kept spiraling and spiraling and spiraling when people are responding. And what happens a lot in these things I found is people are calling out one thing, but they're focused on the other. Like, well, I just don't like romantasy. But what they were calling her out on was she actually used the R word,
Yeah.
the ableist, and then later acted like didn't know that that was a slur, which I mean, that thing has been a slur that's like one of aside for racist slurs, I mean, I remember that from when I was, I don't know, a teenager or a young woman, and I'm old.
Yeah.
I've been
Yeah.
around a while, right? Like
Yeah.
this is not new that this word is a word you do not use,
This
right?
is it's a generational thing. This woman is actually very close to me in age, and I remember people in my generation using the R slur to say that something was like dumb, to say that like
Well,
a
yeah,
cat was
that's
dumb.
how it was used. But
Yeah.
I've
That's how
known
it
for a
was
long
used.
time you
Yeah.
don't know. And maybe it's because I was a social worker, I worked in education, so it was a word that was we don't use that
Yeah.
like that. Anyway, it just went on and on and on, and this person just kept doubling, tripling, quadrupling, octupling, you know,
Yeah.
just over and over and over again. There was no stop. And then there was an apology, and then there wasn't.
Yeah.
It just went on and on. Taylor Rose has a video on it. There's
Really good one.
actually, if you watch any sort of a book talk, or not book talk, a booktube, more and more people are picking up and talking about it. Taylor Rose has one. And I'm just curious, did you guys watch this? And what are your thoughts?
Well, I was
Very.
just taken aback by the dragon fellatio and unicorn jizz. That's what started it all.
Yeah, the unicorn jizz that,
Before
yeah,
the R word even came about. I mean, that was bad enough, but that was later.
yeah,
The, unicorn being body glitter was what got me, because that's how she started it. You spell this word wrong. Well, all you dragon fellatios, what?
What?
yeah,
How did we
Yeah.
get there?
yeah,
How do you go from spelling a word wrong to,
yeah,
some fantasy sexual thing?
yeah.
How do you
You
make that
know,
leap?
yeah, that was quite a lot. I feel the need to stand up for romantasy right now. Like, one, I
Yes.
actually thought these comments were very homophobic, aside from the R slur.
Oh,
A
yes.
lot of
Oh, and then
homophobia.
there was that. Yeah.
Yeah.
On the hockey players.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
well, hockey
Well,
romance is not romantasy, for one.
yeah, throwing that in with romantasy. What?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, two male people getting together, that must be romantasy. I
It could
beg
be a
your
fantasy
freaking
if you're a
pardon.
woman who wants to watch two men, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't write epic romantasy. And there is a lot of epic romantasy I don't enjoy, but I would never ever attack the subgenre in this way. This is ridiculous. Like you wrote a climbing memoir. Like, get out of here. Like, why are you even talking about this? Like
Yeah.
but also like most of romantasy is not monster romance. Most of
Right.
sci-fi romance is not most monster romance. Most of it is like the She Lord and his servant, or two members of the Seelie and Unseelie courts, or enemies to lovers stuff, or we're in a fantasy realm. It's not sleeping with unicorns. But I would defend that as well. I mean, monster erotica and monster romance is a perfectly legitimate subgenre, subgenre, and there's nothing wrong with it. Like going out here and attacking it does not make you look great. Even if this was a contemporary romance author, like especially, I would be really, really salty. Like I am very sick of like people who write contemporary or historical romance looking down on these other subgenres of speculative romance and thinking that they're so much better than them. Like, okay, you write about two generic humans. Good for you. Like I've done that too in a science fiction setting. It's not that weird. It's not that strange. Stop acting like you're going to get cooties on you by associating with us. Like the bookish community, especially indie bookish community, is not that big. And even though there's a lot of noise in it, we don't need to tear each other down to be seen. I don't think
Right.
it makes anything better.
Yeah, I can't quite figure out because sometimes when we talk in general about people picking on romantasy, a
Mhm.
part of me feels like there's envy in there.
You're
They're
right. Yeah.
jealous, right? Here's this thing, Stardust has
Mhm.
taken the world by storm. Twilight did it, 50 Shades of Grey did like, and we don't know what will do it. We don't know what will capture the imagination of the reader, but romantasy did. Good for them. I mean,
Right.
I think it's great. And so sometimes when I think people are dissing on them, people diss on romance. And I have the same thought as like, I don't really like reading horror, but I'm not going to come out here and say, you guys are lunatics
Yeah.
for wanting to be frightened by a child that comes back to life and hides under the bed and cuts the Achilles heel of, which is
Yeah, that
Pet
was a bad
Cemetery,
scene.
right?
Yes. Yeah,
That
that
was a
does
bad
happen.
scene.
I mean, there's nothing
Um,
wrong with going after a certain, like, if you don't like Saw and you think it's gross, fine. But like, that's the whole
yeah,
horror
yeah.
genre.
And I read a lot of Stephen King. Okay, so
Right.
that's, there was a time I enjoyed all that, but I don't go, if you love it, awesome. If you don't, okay,
Yeah.
but you don't have to put it down. And so this particular author from the nonfiction world, I do, it would be interesting to know what first triggered the comment in the first place, right?
Mm.
Like, were they having a discussion with somebody and just was like, well, I just want to tell the world I don't like this and spelled it wrong, and then off we go. Like, I don't know what triggered this whole thing. But it really was, it just went on and on and on. And what was interesting is through it, this is a traditionally published author with a big five. This is a
Mm.
Simon and Schuster
Simon
author,
and Schuster,
right?
yeah. If I were her publicist, I would murder her.
They start tagging Simon Schuster. Now I haven't looked to see if, I mean, the last time I looked, their socials or her socials had come down. She had taken them down, finally, wisely.
Or somebody did.
But the page on Simon and Schuster was still there. And they were getting review bombed, but they even acknowledged that that would happen. They were sort of like, I know I'm ruining my career, but here we go. And you just sort of like, why would you do that? Right? Like,
You wanted her to go viral.
I don't know. It was just it was very strange. And I'm trying to figure out if they're just so contrary or obstinate or just like, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to be one of those people that are going to kowtow and say they're sorry to the internet. I mean, it's a curiosity to me that
She's
they
calling
just, yeah,
romantasy readers bots. She's calling them all bots, everyone who was responding to her,
yeah,
and acting like they were just not real people, and
yeah.
they don't have the telltales of a lot of bots attacking her. They look like people who are really upset. And I mean, there's a certain amount of me it's like, are you trying to go viral by rage baiting people because you know that the romantasy readers are very online, and some of them are very young, and you think that that's going to be good for your career, and maybe she does.
I don't know how that could be good.
I don't either.
She's getting review bombed. Her publisher's being targeted. Um, So it just seems,
Publicist head
I don't
must
know
be
how you look at
exploding.
that and think anything good comes out of it, you know?
What was that? What was that, Ellie?
Yeah.
I said her publicist's head must be exploding when she saw that.
Yes. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah, my social media brain is like, if one of our authors did this, I would explode. I would absolutely
Yeah.
explode.
Yeah, we'd have to pull the story. There was an
Yeah.
author a couple years ago, well, not even that long ago, I don't think. It was another author's behaving badly. They were a YA fantasy author that was
Hmm.
having a debut book come out, and they made these suck accounts on Goodreads, and they started like one starring their competition, and then gave their book, which would have been out on Arc Review, I guess,
Hmm.
good reviews. And it didn't take long for people to figure out because they could see everybody that was one starring their book when they went in, like, why did my book get a one star? You know, you can go and look who's doing it, and you can see that that person's one starring except for this one book. And all of them, it was this one book that was getting 5 stars. So pretty soon you start to think the 5 star book, there's something up. They
Wow.
got called out. They ended up losing their book deal. They
Mhm.
ended up losing their agent. So I don't know how anybody, the internet will find you.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't even
There's
think you're gonna
no
get away
fool in
with
the
stuff.
internet, you know?
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
this stuff is pathetic. It really does remind me of live journal days back when I was in high school. Like or like fanfiction.net going in and review bombing everybody with your sock puppets because like they did something mean to you in third period or something, you know, and it's like I know it was you, Erica. I know you reviewed my story badly. I know it was you. And you know, like we're in like the small niche of this kind of slash fan fiction and this fandom, and like you feel like you're competing with me, and it's not. It's small beans. The rising tide lifts all boats. As a sci-fi romance author, I do actually feel like romantasy is good for me. And like I want to
Yep.
be positive with romantasy, even if there might be a particular book I might not like the whole subgenre, like attacking the whole subgenre because you think you're better than them. Pathetic stuff. Absolutely
Yeah.
pathetic.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts, Aline?
No, I just think she must have been drunk or on drugs.
It does kind of look like she was not in control of herself, is the other
There
thing.
was something up. Yeah. I mean, you do have to wonder how
Yeah.
how they just went on, unless they were just like, I'm just gonna do it,
Yeah.
sort of an obstinate,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a double warning for people here, which is that on the one hand, yes, we should absolutely hold people's feet to the fire and we should hold them to a standard of adult behavior online and that this stuff is not acceptable. I do not say what I'm about to say next to infantilize this person in any way, but remember that like you don't know these people. And I want to tell a story about one of my favorite authors. Rob Thurman, one of my favorite authors, actually, urban fantasy writer, had a TBI in the middle of her series, the Caliandro series. And now it was very obvious that she went from being one way to being another with the TBI, and her writing suffered. And she also started going into reader spaces and attacking people. But like people knew she had a TBI, but they still attacked her. And I remember being kind of angry with those people and also with her family for not like taking her phone away because she obviously had this brain injury that was affecting her career, her relationship with her readers. But I didn't blame her. And the reason I say this is that you never know what's going on in the background. Random people online might have something going on in the background. It could be something temporary, like a TBI or drugs, or they're having a really bad day because someone in their life died or something, or it could be something long term, like some kind of mental health issue or a personality disorder. And you just don't know. And I recommend that people do not pile on because you just don't know what might be going on in the background. It might not be worth it, and you might be causing them to go viral, you know. But I do recommend contacting their representation. There was an author who just contacted their representation, showed them what had happened, and then Simon and Schuster and their agent could take it from there. I think that's a good response instead of like piling on and all of that stuff. And like we're talking about it here as a kind of example to people. On the one hand, as an author, don't do this. If you think rage baiting is good for you, don't. On the
Well,
other hand, if you are a reader or you're an author and you see people behaving like this, don't contribute. Like, don't add to the fire.
The other side of that is that, except maybe for a traumatic brain injury, people don't become racist or prejudiced or all any of that. I mean, that had to be in there
Oh, yeah,
already,
no, absolutely.
right?
Hmm.
And that's the part that got her in trouble.
Yeah, being a vile
Like,
person.
like if
Yeah.
she was just making fun of unicorn jizz and all that kind of, I mean, there still would have been a thing, but there probably would have been more humor around it and just people,
Yeah.
Right.
like,
It
oh,
was
look at
just,
this.
I don't like this genre because of Dragon Fellatio. Oh,
But
fair.
yeah, but yeah, so don't
Right.
read it. But but the parts that upset people weren't that. It wasn't that they didn't like
Mm.
romantasy. It was the homophobia and the slurs
R-word.
and all that kind of stuff. So, and that's different. And
Yeah,
then some
that was in
authors
there.
when they get it's like that lady that went out and was like people who love their dogs too much or cray cray. Remember her? And she kept defending killing the dog in the book,
Oh
and
my dear
we're like,
God.
that is not the problem. The problem is you call dog lovers crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like sometimes they don't see, they see people are responding to what they're saying, but they're not really reading why they're getting the backlash,
Yeah,
So
they're not seeing it. They go into defense mode, right? Like, and I do
yeah,
know that like in moments like this, it can feel like a tidal wave of people hitting you, and you can't really read what's happening to you because you're getting
yeah,
notification, 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 notification,
yeah,
notification, and you can't process. You certainly can't reflect on
yeah,
what you've done and said. I think that the R slur probably just comes from this person being an idiot and not getting it through their heads that this is not okay anymore. It was
yeah.
never okay. I know that people in the aughts who are teenagers use this all the time as like edgy teenagers and got away with it. It was crappy then, it's crappy now.
Yeah.
But I know
Yeah.
where it
The
comes
other thing
from.
is the person who responded to the typo, you
Hmm.
spelled it wrong. The author responded to them like 8 times.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is where I think that the author's out. Like,
And it
something's
just
not
kept
okay.
going, and you're just like, girl.
Just put your phone down. Put
Yeah.
your phone down, girl.
Yeah. Anyway.
Exactly.
Well, enough about this person. So, Aline, I happen to know you're working on a romance novel in the background alongside your many other your many other works, and I was wondering if you could tell our listeners about it.
Well, I can. I'm trying to work on it little by little. It's obviously a romance, and um, it's a chance encounter where they meet, but my female main character has a stalker, so there's that component. But she doesn't want to tell the man she's just met about the stalker component. She wants to like handle it herself. She's
Mhm.
very strong-willed and independent and stuff. And the male lead that she just meets is very protective because he has a sister who's dealt with domestic violence. So he's very
Mm.
protective and wants to be involved in situations like this and help protect and stuff. So that's where the conflict will come in.
Cool. So it's like a romantic suspense.
Yes, more
Excellent.
more romantic suspense. Not a whole lot of suspense. I don't put a lot of the stalker stuff in there. That's
Hmm.
kind of sort of secondary. I want it to focus more on the two main characters.
Hmm.
But that's where a lot of the conflict will come in.
Yeah. I know
Is he the
that you
Scottish
do good
guy?
writing.
Yeah, he's my Scottish guy.
Nice.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
Jenna has said that you're really good at writing danger, so of course I was kind of like, ooh, danger.
Yeah, there's a
Dangerous
little bit of
situations.
danger in there.
Good, good. Is
Yeah.
there a
Yes.
dog?
There is a dog. His name
Excellent.
is Brody.
Perfect.
Brody.
That makes it
That's
a
very
perfect romantic
Scottish.
suspense. It must have a dog.
Yeah.
It must
Yeah.
have a dog, yes.
Lynn doesn't like time travel.
No.
So
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
can't get her to watch Outlander, but if I could get her to watch an episode where they're just back in time,
Hmm.
like there's no hint, and just to listen to them talk.
Look, if
I
you read or
just
watch any time travel, this is the one. You gotta watch Outlander. It's really good. It might not convert you to time travel. I've read a lot of time travel. I even read Jude Devereux's Remembrance, which I think is time travel, or was it Knight in Shining Armor? Might have been both. Anyways, no, it was Remembrance, Past Lives. Anyway, okay. Anyways, Jude Devereux, 90s. Good stuff. But I think Knight in Shining Armor had time travel, one of them. But Outlander is the OG time travel one. It's like it might be the only one you ever like, but it's really good.
Well, I don't, she may never like it. I mean, that's the thing.
Um,
But that's why I was sort of like, if you just watch episodes where she's back there and living there, and you don't necessarily see any hint
yeah.
that
Right.
because as you go into the episodes, she's adapting to there, living back in time.
Yeah.
So every now and then there might be a voiceover where she
Hmm.
talks about whatever, but just to hear them talk,
Yeah.
you
Ellen,
know,
why don't you like
Jenna Fash and
why yes, why don't you like time travel, by the way?
It just seems very, very complicated and
Mm.
like it can't work. It would just, the whole time continuum would be all a mess if you go
What if
back
the
in
author did
time.
a what if the author did a really good job of accounting for that?
I don't know that you can because you'd mess up everybody that you can't see. You'd mess up
So
people that you don't even know that you've come
well,
into contact
in
I
with.
explained this
Outlander,
to
in
my
the
mom.
first
Yeah.
episode, we think Jamie's there looking up in the window, right? Remember her
Mhm.
husband?
Yeah.
And so it's like it's a loop. It's just going to happen again.
What my mom asked about this, and I explained it to her, the reason why they can't change history, and this is a spoiler for a very old series, but the reason why they can't change history is that Claire is part of history. There is,
Yeah.
it's a closed loop. There is no way to change history because if you go back in time, you are part of history. And what they discover is as they try to change history, they're making it happen, which is really cleverly done. It's like, she really just she studied the history and did a very good job of showing how in attempting to stop Culloden, they made it happen, or they helped to contribute to it happening. It's like nicely done. Probably my favorite version of time travel, which is like there are no like other timelines. There's no like we've destroyed continuity and now we're not going to exist. Like no, like she is just part
Right.
of history.
My point is, Ellen, just I think you would enjoy when they're in the Highlands and listening to them talk and
Yes, yeah. You
you
like
know,
Scotland.
yeah.
Do
You
like
don't
Scott.
even have you watch one where Claire isn't even in it, like or a scene where she isn't even that because she's British, right?
Yeah.
So you just it's just fun to hear. We've been watching it again. I've been trying to get my husband to watch it, and so we watched it and just sitting and listening to the all the wee bairns and
The
the
Wee Barons,
the
yes.
dinner fashes and
And the first half of
Like listening to it.
season three is all like she's in her time, he's in his time. And you
yeah.
only see historical stuff between the 1940s/1950s and the 1740s and 1750s, which is really cool. I like the way that it's
I
done.
didn't like that season because of course Claire and Jamie weren't together very much. So
I love Voyager. I
that's the
love
whole
that book. I
point.
love Voyager. It's my second favorite of all the books.
Oh my
Voyager is so good. I mean, and they make changes to all the things in it that are bad, right? And I liked that as well. Like a way
yeah.
better job with Yi Chen Cho, and a better job with like they just handled stuff better. And I know Dale Gambleton was like, I didn't know a lot of this stuff, and it was the '90s, and they fixed a lot of things. So it is,
And well, that was her throwaway book, right?
it was, and it ended up being really good.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm
All right.
excited to read it because I do like Scotland.
Yes. I wish that they would go back to Scotland, of course. And you know this, and you want this as well. So
Yeah. Yeah.
and Jenna, you've been writing under a new pen name on Substack, and you're almost done with the novel you've been writing there. That's Shadow of Betrayal, a paranormal
Yeah,
gothic
yeah,
romance with a
yeah.
murder mystery and fated lovers, in addition to a bunch of shadowy warfare and politics. And I was just wondering, how have you been liking that process? How has it been different from writing some of your other series?
It's funny because the idea was I've ghostwritten a lot of mafia romance. So I thought, well, I'll do that too under brand. And then I decided for whatever reason, I maybe because we were going to New Orleans,
I
Elena and I,
think that's why.
and I there's something about New Orleans for me has that something something that Scotland has for Lynn. There's that strange pull. And then I thought, well, gosh, if you're gonna set it in New Orleans, a city full of corruption
Gotta
and
have some
woo-woo,
woo-woo.
I will. Here's an interesting thing. The mafia, Italian mafia did start in New Orleans.
What? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know
Uh,
that.
No idea.
yeah.
I mean, it's a big
Anyway,
shipping city, and once it used to be like the mouth of a lot of shipping for the United States, so that makes sense. I just didn't know
yeah. And the muffaletta sandwiches from there. And then the Axeman seemed to go after Italian families.
that.
So anyway, so I
Did
decided
you
to
just
set it
mention
there.
a muffaletta? Did you mention the muffaletta?
I did
Oh no. Now
because
I'm thinking about it.
they're delicious.
Hmm.
All the food. My trip to New Orleans was delicious.
Mm.
Anyway, so I decided, okay, maybe instead of mafia, I would do something that was like secret society. So it's kind of just morphed into something. And the challenge has been creating a magic or so-called magic system and staying faithful to it. making sure I fully because I'm the type of person that just will write. I'm a pantser by nature. I just start going. When you're writing something that has this fantasy paranormal, that has to have a set of rules that contains it, um, it would be easy for me to go off in left field, and readers would be like, "But wait a minute, you said that that can't happen." So I
Right.
would end up contradicting myself. So that has been sort of the challenge. But I have enjoyed it. I'm someone that when I'm writing, I do get heavily emotionally attached to my characters. So I'm totally into Damien and Charlotte and trying to navigate their story and who killed Alcide, his older brother.
I
So
can't hear that name without thinking about True Blood, but
I know. I know. They're French. They are
yes.
from, historically they're from France, so
Mhm.
they're Creole, but uh, Louisiana French and the names and everything down there are sort of to that area. So, I don't know if there's Alcides in France, but there's definitely Alcides down in Louisiana.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
How are you liking the process of posting it to Substack, using it as an accountability tool, but also, like getting comments and stuff like that and seeing how your reviews are doing?
It's been good as the accountability tool until I get behind, and then it
Hmm.
stresses me out a little bit.
Hmm.
I think I'm on schedule and I'm
Yeah.
almost done. I want to say there's 4 or 5, maybe 6 chapters to go. So that part's been good. I do like getting comments. I mean, I've gone into the manuscript and made notes to myself. So when I go back and edit, it will better. It is interesting to post something so raw, because the first write doesn't have all the depth that you want. But I got to get it up. I got to get it up. So it's interesting to see what people notice that help me. Maybe I wouldn't have noticed. I have on my own, I did have to make notes because the journal and the folio, I totally lost that thread.
Oh
So
no. Yeah. That's okay though. Everyone knows that it's an alpha version though, I think it's
yeah,
really cool. I think readers love seeing like behind the scenes on something like that, seeing the first version and seeing an author kind of in process. It's like being in an artist's workshop.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see. It'll be interesting to see how it comes out in the end. I'm feeling I'm going to get close to maybe 70,000 words, but by the time it's done, there'll definitely be more because,
Yeah. I mean, that's okay for a fantasy. I mean, it does have a fantasy element to it, and I do think that it
yeah,
is fine for those to be an extra 10 to 20,000 words longer than your
yeah,
typical romance novel. They just have more work to do, you know?
yeah.
And you have a lot going on. It's a dark romance, there's politics, there's shadow monsters, you're setting up stuff for the rest of the series. I mean, I think that it's totally fine. Like, and fantasy
Yeah,
readers are used
there
to
will be
reading
an
more stuff.
overarching story. So we
Mhm.
will find out who killed Alcide at the end of this book, but there's still a lot more kind of going on because there's a prophecy. My heroes are working as they're sort of warriors for this council, and they're defending all this kind of stuff, but a lot of stuff has been hidden from them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so through the course of the book, they're going to be learning, oh, there was
Hmm.
this prophecy, and oh, there was this. So
I have a question for you for future books on this one. Are you doing the Tess and Jack thing where you stick with one couple? So it's going to be
no,
Damie and Charlotte, or you do another couple in the next one?
no,
Okay.
no. The next book, I believe, is Mathis.
Oh, I like him. Okay, that's cool. I like that. Yeah, I like
No,
Matt. I was like, I hope he's not the murderer because I'm liking him.
none of the oath marked. So Mathis, Jules and Theo, they will all have a story. And then the fifth, I don't want to give away too much about the fifth because it's part of what they learn
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
as the series goes on.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to that. Sorry, that we got off on a tangent there, but I was curious about
Yeah.
things. So, all right. So you're both in Fireworks and Flirtation, the topic of this pod. Aline, you wrote the contemporary romance Back to Us, and Jenna, you wrote the contemporary romance novelette A Matter of Time. Can you both tell our listeners a bit about your story, starting with Aline?
Back to Us is a kind of a almost tragedy, second chance romance. Um, it's about kind of a damaged young man who doesn't think he's good enough for really anything and kind of walks away from his relationship and sort of uses that failed relationship to better himself over the next couple years and has a chance encounter with that partner again, with that girl, and realizes that walking away had been the worst mistake of his life. And so he sets out to win her back.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
she also has some issues, and she has some trust issues now, understandably. And so she is resistant to his advances. And so it just kind of goes from there.
Yeah, she comes by those trust issues very honestly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Jenna? Tell us about A Matter of Time.
Well, I had written the It's About Damn Time, which is our
Mhm.
reader magnet for Tender and Tempting Tales, set in Skullhaven Bay, which is it's Ocracoke Island off of North Carolina, but it's more a little more populated, so it's sort of like Chincoteague, maybe not quite as big as Chincoteague, but it's a tourist island that had originally been settled by pirates. The people come there for the pirate lore and I really enjoyed writing that. It was a little quirkier. When I wrote my cozy series, that was really quirky and I enjoyed that. So I was happy to write something to have kind of the quirkiness, an island settled by pirates.
Yes. I
And
love the pirate tourism
yes.
thing.
And so I decided to write. The first book was Sheriff Drew Morgan, and his and the bartender of the Siren Song get together. They were childhood friends forever. They get together, but Drew had a deputy, Nate. And so I thought, well, I'll write him. And then in
Yeah.
this case, we're again about to have another Founders Day. Jasper is an octogenarian who enjoys getting all the youth of the community together to play pranks on the town.
Jasper is
um,
such a great
pirate,
meme in these
pirate
stories.
pranks. So they're trying to be prepared for that. And the curator or one of the ladies that works in the museum that has all their pirate stuff in it comes to say, oh, Captain Hawthorne, who was one of the pirates that settled the island, his journal's been stolen. And she and Nate don't get along. She lost a lot of stuff in a flood because he hauled her out of the museum. He was afraid it was going to flood during a storm. So they end up sort of in a forced proximity. They have to go to the lighthouse. Bad weather comes in and they end up stranded in the lighthouse. And while they're there, they try to figure out what Hawthorne's diary means, all these clues to figure out what really happened. His ship went down, but nobody's ever found it. And Clementine was the woman he loved, and
Mhm.
whatever happened to her. So they're kind of solving history and falling in love all at the same time.
Yes, yeah. I remember yours was, I mean, I was like on you to write a Nate story. So
Yeah.
because he's like in the first one. And I was like, Nate needs a romance. He's a stick in the mud. I want to find out what happens to him. But I like that we find out more about Skullhaven Bay in this one. And
I
I mean,
I am
Elaine, yours
told
is
to
a good
write
novel.
things a lot. Well, Lynn told me to write a book. I wrote that book. Tara tells me to write.
Yep.
I wrote.
We're on you. We're very on you. I
I'm
remember
just
we were on you
I
about
should just be
logistics
like,
as
what do
well.
you want me to write? Well, that's what I do, right? I'm a
Yeah.
ghostwriter. Like, what do you want me
Yes.
to write? I'll write it.
It's the same. The Valkyrie community, they tell me to write a thing, and I do a poll, and then I'll write whatever they vote for,
Yeah.
basically. So
Yeah.
if it seems random, that's why.
Yeah. It's fun. If you can do it, it's fun. But, when Ellen first asked for Patrick's story, I was stuck for a long time because I was like, I don't know what to do with this guy,
Oh God, yes,
So, until I could figure out what to do with him, but then it all turned out really good, and I very much enjoyed writing his story. So,
yeah. I think
Yes.
it's
I love
good to follow
Patrick.
reader interest, you know.
yeah.
And if someone notices something in your story that you thought was just like a throwaway, and then they were like, "This was interesting," you might discover that actually is really interesting. Like Jasper. I'm not saying Jasper needs a romance, but I'm saying
Yeah,
he
he's
is
80. Yeah.
hilarious.
Yeah.
It's very
Yeah.
He's a very
interesting.
good through line.
He's an instigator.
Yes, yeah. want to know more about Jasper. I don't know what I want to know about Jasper, and I know I want to know more. All right, so can you both tell our readers? I mean, you wrote very different contemporary romance stories. I mean, like Jenna, yours is very quirky and very fun, kind of has some rom-com aspects to it. Ends up being very serious. We learn about the town. Rachel, yours is very, very serious, and it is an almost tragedy with a lot of groveling in it. Like it almost feels like it's not going to turn out, but finally they get their HEA. And I was wondering if you could both tell your readers a bit about your characters, your inspiration, maybe behind the scenes stuff. You both struggled mightily with us, the editors, on certain things. So some behind the scenes stuff could be fun.
I have no idea where my inspiration came from because I don't have any of that stuff really in my background. I'm a rather boring person. I'm average, as I say, just average. If you looked up the word, you'd see my picture there and just all
Oh.
American, everyday, average. So I don't really know where it came from. I just got the idea and just kind of ran with it and thought that it would be a good idea. What if something happened and he just left? Well, then I
Hmm.
thought, well, he'd have to have a good reason to leave.
Yeah.
So what would be a good reason to leave? And then he had to come back. So why would he come groveling back? Well, he had to have a reason to grovel. So then that's where my story idea came from.
Okay. You've never known like a young person who was like this?
Not really, no. Like I
Okay.
said, I'm just your average all-American. I've never
But that
really
doesn't mean
had
everyone you
anything
know is average
anything like
American.
this. I'm boring, really.
Aw. Any behind the scenes stuff? I remember we were trying to I remember we were with you on like trying to up the grovel. Um, what do you think about what have you read any
Oh,
grovels in romance that inspired you for this?
um, not not too much. No, that's why I was having such a hard time with it because I haven't really read too much about it. And then, but I really liked my singing telegram
Oh,
part
the singing telegram. Oh God.
that really seemed to upset you.
Oh, it's a
But I really
generational
liked
difference.
that.
This is absolutely a generational difference. I would murder a guy who sent me a singing telegram. The cringe, the generational cringe of the singing telegram. So there's a moment in oh God, this is a Harry Potter moment, but I remember being a kid reading this where there it's in the second book and Jenny sends Harry a singing telegram and it just humiliates him in front of all these kids because he like falls down and it's on his chest and you could feel his humiliation as a 12-year-old boy with an 11-year-old having a crush on him. That is what I think about when I think of singing telegrams. Just absolute humiliation. So when I got to that part, I was like, I'd kill him.
Well, I was just trying to think of things that would just keep ramping it up and ramping
Yes,
it up. And
yeah,
so I thought, well,
absolutely.
that would be a good one
Yeah,
to to end it on if
yeah,
we
that
got
was
the
very good.
singing telegram. So that's why I left that in there. I couldn't think of anything else except like, that would be worse, would be like a mariachi band or something. I couldn't have that go marching into a hospital. So
Well, as a on the other side of the coin, there is a moment in Grey's Anatomy where April is with a guy who is an EMT, and to propose to her, he gets all the EMTs to do a dance number. When they're coming in and they're doing choreography with their stretchers and stuff, and it's amazing. It is so good. It's like the most romantic like proposal I have ever seen. And it's also funny. Like it's Grey's Anatomy, so it hits that like romantic funny line just absolutely on the nose. And it is basically a singing telegram with like dancing and singing, and it's so over the top that it goes through ridiculous and back into cute. But
right,
also, like what April says is that she couldn't possibly say no.
right.
Even if she wanted to, she couldn't possibly say no. She ends up leaving him at the altar.
Oh no.
Yeah, because he proposed in this way in front of all of her friends and all of her coworkers, and everyone was like, "How romantic!" And she
Yeah.
had to say yes. There's no space in that to say no after someone has done that. And so I think of that moment of like, "Oh, that's so amazing if you know she's gonna say yes, but if you're not sure, it's just pressure,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right?" So that's the thing I think about there. I'm like, well, he's doing a grovel and he might not get a yes out of her. And all of her coworkers are like, it's so romantic. Give him a chance. but she's justifiably mad. So it's difficult. There's a lot of tension there. There's a lot to play with, a lot of
Right.
eggs to
You get
play
a
with.
sense though that she's like, I gotta put a stop to, or
Yeah,
it's just
I
like,
gotta
oh,
stop him.
fine, fine, fine. I'll meet you for drinks, right?
Yes,
Like,
he just
just
wants a
make it
coffee date. He
stop.
doesn't necessarily want her to accept his apology. He just wants a coffee date to explain himself, which is
Yeah,
fine. Like
yeah,
he just wants a chance to talk to her real quick.
yeah,
People do deserve grace, even when they're jerks,
yeah.
for the most part. And Jenna, what was your inspiration other than all of us telling you to write Nate's story?
Yeah. The Pirates in the Outer Banks is just another one of those things. I like places that have lore and myths and things like that. And of course, Ocracoke Island is where Blackbeard had his little um, hideout. The pirates used to help merchants sail through the islands to get to the mainland, North Carolina, because the shoals are always changing underneath. That part of the Atlantic is called the graveyard of the Atlantic because there's just so many shipwrecks and things like that.
Ooh.
It's also where Blackbeard met his demise, and I believe it was Governor Spotswood, and of course, Aline is from Spotsylvania.
Mhm.
Mhm.
He was the governor from Virginia is like, this has to stop. And so the British went down there, they got him. And the lore is that when they killed Blackbeard, they cut off his head, put it up in the front of the ship, they tossed his body overboard, and it swam around the ship 3 times before they
Yeah, chicken.
I love that story. Now, I didn't use that one, but I stuff like that I just think is fun. And I did a friends to lovers, so I thought I would do an enemies like a lot of stories. It's hard to know the specific origin because they sort of come in pieces. Well, what about
Mhm.
this? And what about this? And they hate each other. How am I gonna get? Well, I'll get them stuck in the lighthouse, maybe. I did have some issues because I was like, I don't want them doing the spicy things up there necessarily. So I had to work through that a little bit.
Lighthouse
Um,
spice logistics. Yeah.
yeah,
I remember
and
you said you didn't want him like they didn't want her ass just hanging out of the lighthouse with everyone being able to see her.
yeah, because they're up in the lantern room, right? So
Yes.
yeah, I couldn't really have that. But mostly it was him coming around in
Hmm.
terms of trusting how he felt about her. I enjoyed that, but I have a very difficult time like the origin of things because things sort of mull over for so long
Yeah.
and they get pieced together as you go. Sometimes it's hard to find where it all started, but
Yeah, find the
yeah,
thread. Yeah.
yeah,
It's like an Ariadne's maze at that point, right? It's like, where
right,
does this thread start?
right,
I,
yeah,
I really liked this one because I've been reading a lot of enemies to lovers lately. I was helping Parish with with Fantastical Foes, just reading through for guideline stuff, and it's hard to land. I think enemies to lovers. I mean, these are shorter, of course, than what you wrote, but still, I think that arc seems very difficult. You see people manage it in different ways, with banter or with real moments of like gaining trust or like a great act or something like that. And I like the way you landed it with Molly and Nate. Like the reasons they dislike each other are real. It's a personality thing, and also there's an event, a reason why they don't like each other. And they've been disliking each other for a while. You can feel a sense of history. They've been in this town together for a bit, and like you can really palpably feel their personalities like tugging against each other, but also like their principles. They believe in different things, right? Not incompatible things, but different things that they have to reconcile. And then the way that they come together while solving this mystery is really fun. I like that the way that does it. And like the pacing is really well done. So now
okay.
that I have like, I don't know, I've read enough like enemies to lovers, I can see just like kind of how well done, how skilled that arc is.
Thank you, thank you.
So my
But I
compliments
also
to you.
saw them more like when you have school kids that have crushes on each other and then they pick on each other.
Hmm.
So in my mind, it
Yeah.
was more like that.
Well,
Like
tugging the
underneath
pigtails.
it all, there was
Yeah.
this attraction, but they decided that I don't like you because of this. But there was an attraction there. So it was sort of like he was tugging on her pigtail type of thing, and she was,
Yes. I enjoyed the visual. This was one visual really stuck out to me. It was that the idea of her in the museum. She's a curator, and she was trying to save all these documents. And I've been an archivist, so I
yeah,
completely related to
yeah,
her trying to save those documents. Like
yeah.
water, whatever, I'll be fine, but I've got to save these documents. And he comes in and just picks her up and walks her out of there. Like, no, like you are going to die. I have to get you out of here. We're on a floodplain. And while she's literally wading through like water with boxes, trying to save these documents, priceless artifacts. And I can completely understand both of their perspectives there. Both of these perspectives are perfectly valid, right? Like for her, these things are so important that she's willing to risk her life. And she doesn't see it as that risky because the water is more risky to these artifacts than it is to her in her mind. To him, it's like, I'm not even going to risk it. I'm walking you out of here. Your life right now is more important than these documents.
Yeah,
But they
because
both make perfect
water can
sense.
be very dangerous, right?
Yes,
I
absolutely.
mean, I remember when I worked for a school, a county, and we were having a lot of rain. We're in Virginia. We were having a lot of rain, a lot of rain. And the transportation director goes out to drive the roads before the buses go out. And he decided to drive through standing water, and it did not
Oh,
turn out
Move.
well. It turned
yeah,
out bad.
yeah.
Bad, but I mean demise, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. So water's no joke.
Yeah.
And even on the coastal areas, right?
Mhm.
So, because a part of me thought people are going to be like, what's the big deal that she has to leave? But, hurricanes and big storms, I mean, water can be dangerous. So,
Yeah. I mean, it's dangerous to artifacts, but also, like people, I think people think of it like a pool. Like it's up to my knees.
yeah,
It's like I'm in a wading pool, but I think you realize that when it comes into a building, there's suction and forces where it can
right.
just suddenly pull you out into a larger flood and
Yeah,
you could die and you can choke on mud or you could like get poisoned by all the things that are in that water. It's
yeah,
it's it's
yeah,
more dangerous than you might think, even if it's only up to your knees and you think that that's not
yeah,
dangerous. Like,
yeah.
well, it's not up to my
And of course, it
neck,
was dangerous for him. And he was like,
Yes.
why do I have to come out here and drag this crazy lady out of here?
Yes,
Right?
yeah,
Like,
she should have evacuated
I'm
already.
saving
Yeah.
your life, lady.
Yeah, and I just love it. He just picks her up and walks her through like
Yeah,
in like
he's like,
knee-deep
no.
water. That's very
Yeah.
heroic.
Yeah. And it stick to, she's reckless. In his mind, she's
Mhm.
reckless
Yeah,
in pursuit of her passion. Yeah.
yeah, I love that. So, as we do every single time, I would like to know your book recommendations, what you're reading now for the week, or something that inspired you, or something that puts you in mind of fireworks and flirtation. Maybe your favorite summer or beach read.
Well, right now I am reading a book called Poison Ivy.
Mm.
It is by Misty Simon and it is called
Oh,
A Row Mystery.
Oh,
Can-
oh,
I think
a
I
real
have that
mystery. I
book.
love that. That's cute. Real
Yeah.
mystery.
We've met Misty. She wears the
Yeah,
cool dresses. Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah, we met her. And so I just started it, but I get the idea that she is a plus size. It doesn't say she's plus size, but that's the idea that you get.
Hmm.
And she's 20 something and she finally gets to move away from home. She's moving from California to Virginia
Oh
because
boy.
she's inherited her aunt's house and business. Her aunt has passed away. So she gets to move out of her dad's house finally, and she's going to Virginia to start this business.
Culture
And
shock.
it's a costume business, but it also
Mhm.
has a lingerie business on the side that she didn't know about until she gets there. So she's selling all this lingerie too.
Oh,
There's
oh
a
no.
murder mystery that I'm just getting to. And so, and there's a little romance. She's met someone, so I'm not sure if he's the main character or not. So it's
Mm,
interesting so far.
Yeah,
cool.
and I think
And this
I
is
think
an
she was
author you
trying to
met at an event?
coin row mystery because I think she does like to have a little something something. It's
Hmm.
kind of like I do in my mysteries, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
Yeah,
a lot of mystery readers don't like that. So I think she was
yeah,
trying to point out you might come across something in here.
I
yeah,
like Row Mystery. That's a very good. I like that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
use that in Valkyrie. I'm always trying to come up with different like genre names for things. So because like
Yeah.
you wouldn't still call it the same subgenre name. So like for instance, like historical romances are called historoms in the Valkyrie timeline, like way in the future. They're called
Yeah.
historoms, and rom-coms are called sugar roms.
I could see though if you wrote row mystery, somebody might say it's romantasy.
Mystery,
You misspelled it, and
romancestasy.
then you're gonna have to get mad and have a thing on
I'm
the internet.
gonna
you're gonna
start
have to
talking
have
about
a thing
unicorn
on the
jizz.
internet.
Yeah.
Unicorn. Oh, that's funny.
Joke's on
Um,
you. I love talking about unicorn jizz.
somebody's gonna have to. Gosh, you could have a unicorn shifter or something.
Yeah, romantasy authors. I challenge you. I
Yeah.
challenge you. I need a book with both dragon filleting and glitter jizz from unicorns.
From
Make it happen.
unicorn.
I believe in
Oh
you.
my gosh. And it has to take place in Scotland because the unicorn is the animal.
That's your challenge, folks. I absolutely believe in you. It'll be
Oh
lovely.
my golly.
All right, and Jenna, what's your
Well,
recommendation?
I'm reading Dark and Shallow Lies by Ginny
Ooh.
Meyer Sain. I picked this book up at an event a long time ago. It is a YA
Hmm.
book, but it is in the bayous of Louisiana, and there is some woo-woo. There is some belief in the Rougarou.
Oh.
And basically, a teenage girl has returned to this area. And in the past, there was a friend that had been killed.
Hmm.
So there's this mystery. She's a teenager and trying to reconnect with the kids she had known before she had to leave. And there's some woo-woo. And so I'm enjoying it so far.
Nice.
I think there is a little bit of romance in it, but it's mostly mystery, woo-woo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, as you know, I'm neck deep in Fantastical Foes submissions, just assessing for copy edits. I just finished copy edits on a story that was submitted early, and yeah, I think I'm going to be writing the article for the zine. So that means that I gotta, I've read Romancestasy, but I haven't read like the bigs in the genre. Like I haven't read Akotar, so I think I need to go read Akotar.
That
God
sort
help
of
me.
launched it, right?
Yes, it did.
I
Yeah,
mean, the first book.
yeah, but it's like YA, and I'm almost afraid of it. It's so big, like it's so big that I don't know how I'm gonna feel about it. I'm gonna try to like empty my mind of any thoughts that I've had about it. Just go in with a really open mind, like, okay, what is this? And then I
When
think
I
I have to
first
read
read
fourth
it, I
one.
thought of Katniss Everdeen. Yeah, I mean, it starts out she's hunting in the woods, right?
Yeah,
So,
it's transitioning from
strong,
dystopian.
fierce young woman, and it's
Mhm.
basically Beauty and the Beast. I enjoyed it when I read it.
Good, great,
Um,
excellent.
yeah, yeah.
And it's not spicy, right? It's more of a YA.
There is, if I remember correctly, there is a spicy bit in it, but I mean, it
Okay.
was like a YA. There's a spice. So if you like good spice, that was like for me, it was, I don't know, there's just no snap, crackle, pop for me.
I've read a lot of YA series, and and a lot of them like Vampire Academy. The first book doesn't really have a lot of spice in it.
Yeah.
You have to kind of get further into the series before you find that. And it's teenager, but kind of thing. But I remember it being well done because of like the emotions, especially, like the things
Yeah.
that happen to
I, I,
Dimitri and stuff.
I didn't get that from there, but then it turns out later she ends up with Rice and who you meet towards the end of the book,
Mhm.
when all the stuff is going down, the guy
Oh,
she
okay.
ends up with. So yeah, that's sort of why I didn't read on at first because I'm like, well, I'm kind of invested in these two.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
but then it sort of changes, and I guess the love interest becomes a jerk more than he
Oh,
kind of was. So
sort of
I
like
don't know. I
Hunger
haven't read
Games,
on. I
where
do
it feels like
have.
Glenn is going to be the love interest, and then he's not, right? That's the Hunger Games switch.
When we thought she'd be with Gail.
Gail, not Glenn. I'm so sorry. It's been a
Yeah,
while. Yes, Gail. Like it was. I remember that. I was not a teenager for Hunger Games. I'm so sorry. Yeah, Gail.
yeah,
I thought Gail would be the love interest because he seems like the
yeah.
the type, right? But it ends up. I mean, I actually was I was more of a shipper for her and the guy she was in the Hunger Games with. I thought that was better. And then when she ended up with him, I was like, yay! I like that.
Yeah, but
But I
even
don't
when
think
you
that
get
I
to
was
the
the
end of
majority.
that, you still don't sort of feel it, but it is YA. So, right, it's going to be low on sensuality
Yes.
necessarily
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. And
Yeah.
yeah,
The romance is secondary in that series, very much so the
yeah, yeah.
dystopia.
And of
So,
course,
yeah.
Gail is why her sister passes. So, yeah,
Yes, I do not blame her for not wanting to be with Gale
yeah,
after that.
yeah. So,
I like that she is a very consistent character. What is important to her is her sister, her family, her district. And when Gale goes too far, she's like, no, we're done. I think I like that a lot. I think it's
yeah.
actually I think it's a very sophisticated series in a lot of ways.
That made
Honestly
me think of The
hammered.
Running Man, which
The
is,
running guys.
remember Stephen, well, he was writing under Bachman. Was Running Man under Stephen Bach or Richard
Richard
Bachman?
Bachman? I think so.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what I thought of. Yeah.
Yeah.
I keep reading things that remind me of something else.
That's reading for you.
Yeah.
All right, folks. I really
Well,
want
when
to
I
thank
was
both of you
telling my
for
mom real quick about the Bennett sister, and I was like, well, this isn't in the book and that's in the book. And finally she's like, that's what you get for reading.
that's what you get for reading. She's got a point.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank both of you for being here. This is really, really fun. It was great to talk to you, talk about all the spice and talk about all the tea in the bookish world right now. I appreciate it. I'm really excited to see how Fireworks and Flirtation looks when it comes out, and I'm really glad that you're both in it and appreciate all of your support for the press up to this point. We will have all of Aline and Jenna's information down below. We'll have their website, their reader magnets, and a link to Jenna's Substack as well. Also, Tender and Tempting Tales, we have an open call right now for romance authors. That's Starlit and Spellbound. That is a 10,000 words or less short story with an otherworldly element to it. If you're a contemporary historical author, it's still okay. You can still just, do something that is like a strange happening or something like that, or a haunted house or something. Be creative, follow your bliss, of course. And we have a anthology coming out this month that is Fireworks and Flirtation, coming out on the 18th. Please don't miss it. Pick up your copy. Pre-orders are available now. We'll have that available for you as well in the show notes. You can visit us on Substack. We've got great articles every week. This last week, we actually had an article written by Mariah Onkenman from Instagram talking about disability in romance. You can find great articles like that every week from us. That's Tender and Tempting Tales on Substack. And of course, you can find updates about everything that we're doing, all of our publications and author spots on Instagram. That's Tender Tempting Tales at Instagram. And until next time, Jenna.
That was such a mouthful. I'm always amazed at how you get that all out.
My radio announcer voice.
That's amazing.
Well, Tara, thank you for hosting everything today. And Ellen, thank you for being here. And until next time, peace, love, and happily ever after.